With that in mind, I can't exactly trust you when you tell us that the medicine is truly our one option. Now, even if carrying you means that you will be more at risk than otherwise, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Damn it, Bamele, you're stirring up drama. You know what? I don't hate that you're doing it, though, because I didn't trust the guide to begin with. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony. Today we're hopping back into Lake of Voices. Without further ado, let's hop in. He remains where he is, resolving to keep the monsters near him in his sight. I grow more unnerved the longer I watch this. The guide seems impervious to the danger of Sinlos. This is the first case where I can't tell whether he will continue to be fine as always or not. It is a distressing notion. As they creep ever closer, I can't stay silent any longer.
Your safety is most important. Consider retreating.
He doesn't face me, but replies,
I cannot do that. Nixie recognized signs of weakness. Backing away will only increase the odds of them attacking.
I grip my lantern tighter as I swallow hard. What can I do? As if to answer my own question, a thought whispers into my mind, and I look down at the lantern in my hand. I could throw it, as long as I don't let it go too far down the shore. It doesn't seem plausible that Nixie could take it. But if I do lose the lantern, especially after Margaret lost hers only moments ago, then... Watch. I can't act rashly here. The guide has managed through every situation we've been through, as well as countless others we do not bear witness to. I resolve to continue with what we've planned and keep my position. Without flinching, the guide keeps hold of our position on the waterline. I periodically switch between watching him and the others at the rest of the shore. I scan the forest. There's a singing groan. What was that? The guide, it can't be. Standing in rigid shock, a painful prickling sensation goes down my back before winging around to face the truth. He's crouched low on the ground, staring forcefully at a group of Nixie, head on. There's a whole other group of monsters rapidly crawling back into the water.
Hey!
I step forward with a shout, but he puts one hand to halt me. I don't go further. As those creatures motionlessly watch for what he will do. His fingers curl tightly around the upper half of his staff. With great effort, he begins to rise to his unstable feet. The moment he is fully upright, the guide aggressively swings his lantern at the encroaching Nixie. He catches them completely off guard as they scatter to rejoin the rest in the back depths. The guide crumbles back into the sand unceremoniously. I can hear his ragged breath as he regains his composure. He tugs one side of his cloak, bringing it closer to himself. It covers up a dark, growing stain creeping through his right pant leg. Even while collapsed, he seems compelled to hide his fragility. Is that admirable or saddening? I don't know anymore. The guide roughly pulls himself back onto his feet and forces himself to remain standing. The rest of us must remain strong as well as if we are to survive this night. Gripping my lantern, I watch over everything and everyone in sight vigilantly. After an untold period of time, the water begins to stir. There's an unusual gurgling sound I never thought I'd be relieved to hear. Slowly, creakily, the bridges make their nightly appearance. Sinlos' overwhelmingly cruel environment. This island had felt like a safe haven such a short time ago, but that has been twisted to the point where I'm grateful that the chance to return to the mage, and we may not even reach that. More Nixie are breaching the water and wrenching themselves onto the sand. The guide signals to all of us.
We have to leave!
Thanks to his position on the shore, the guide is able to board the bridges without confrontation. For the rest of us, however, Nixie began to crowd around the opening. It appears they want to get on themselves. We have desperately little time before we're cut off from the guide. I look to my lantern. Will this light alone be enough to cause them to disperse?
Come on!
Margaret's shout cuts straight through my thoughts. She advances towards me, holding a heavy stick with the end of it set on fire as a makeshift torch. The sight is striking.
It won't last long! We need to get through now!
She need not say more. The three of us push our way forward. We advance. Margaret relays her plan.
We'll toss the branch when we get close. The smoke spewing off this thing is making it even harder to see than usual. So you tell me when it's time, Kika.
I can do that.
The shore approaches closer and closer, and every single one of the Nixie turn their attention towards our small group. Now, after alerting Margaret, she gives it her all to hurl the flame ahead of us while avoiding setting the bridge itself on fire. The monsters flee from the torch. A path is clear. We waste not a moment sprinting towards the bridges. With the others near my side, I amble back to the maze. We do not stop until there is a considerable distance between us and the shore. It is there that we encounter the guide. Upon seeing his figure, I hide a sigh of relief. We have not been left behind. Our arrival does not change the guide's empty expression. He does not say anything, instead allowing us to catch our breath. Mally starts laughing incredulously through uneven breaths.
Such recklessness. I can hardly believe it worked.
Margaret chimes in, equally amazed and exhausted.
I don't know how we managed to do nothing wrong. That feels far more fitting for this journey.
Yes, you could have burnt your fingertips off. Or perhaps the bridges could have gone up in flames.
Margaret looks at him curiously, but Mally gives her a wink.
That would have been the outcome if I was handling the torch, you think?
Margaret's lip quirk into a smirk.
Yes.
We treasure the moment of triumph for a little more before the guide ends his silence.
We need to start walking. We've already lost much time as it is.
Almost as soon as he finishes his statement, he stumbles, nearly falling back down. His hand slipped down the shaft of his staff as he sinks into the ground. He gasps under his breath.
Are you all right? Is there anything we can do? I don't have much, but I could still clean and wrap it.
I take a few hurried steps closer and reach my hand towards him, which he curls away from like a barn cat. He turns his gaze to me and shakes his head.
I tended to it myself when you were still on the shore.
Moments tick by and I stare at him, growing ever more nervous. As horrible as his injuries is, the larger situation at play is dire for all, as it weighs bearing down on each of us, threatening to bring the entire group to its knees rather than only our lead. We can't stay here.
Are you able to walk?
He eyes his feet with gritted teeth. He clenches his staff tighter.
Not like this.
A beat of quiet passes before he continues, voice slightly ragged.
I have a way. It will be enough to get to the other side.
Shaking, he removes a hand from his staff and reaches into his cloak, searching for something. I have little other choice but to watch as he searches his pockets. The panic that we thought was past starts to creep back in. He retrieves a small vial with viscous liquid inside, switching it slightly. As he holds it up, I peer at it curiously.
Drinking this will numb the pain. I'll be able to ignore that my leg is injured for the time being.
I analyze the vial hesitantly. I'm pensive as I mull over the possible other effects it could have. Something that potent would be a miracle drug if there were no downsides along with its positives.
Is that safe? It must cause drowsiness or have some kind of impact on you. Not to mention, pushing your leg so hard when it's in that state could permanently ruin it.
He regarded me as his lips twist partly into a snarl.
My leg isn't broken. It will heal without issue once I'm able to treat it. In order for that to happen, however, I need to live.
I flinch slightly. He wouldn't usually snap at such a question. The pain must truly be getting to him.
What about side effects? You didn't say what they were.
Molly steps in closer, the guide. His questions harsh enough to be a demand. Melanie trusts in the guide has steadily declined since the first night. With the way he's acting, I cannot ignore the sense that it may come to a head before the journey is over. The guide leaves a deeply unimpressed look at Bemele. He then sighs, raising the bottle up so that it's more visible. He swishes it almost impatiently.
It can slow reflexes and cloud the mind.
Immediately, Bemele's eyes widen incredulously. Margaret quietly gasps, bringing a hand to her mouth. The guide heaves another sigh through the pain. It makes it sound more akin to a groan. He is still impatient with the group delays as the time marches on.
I will only be taking half a dose. It won't ease all of the pain. However, it will reduce the odds that I will be notably impacted by any adverse effects.
I know how you feel about others coming close to you, but is that truly the best solution to a situation like this? You need to be clear-headed here.
Margaret looks at the bottle and then at him skeptically. Melanie takes another heavy step forward. He meets the guide's eyes stonily.
No, you can't drink something like that. I'll carry you.
Melanie presses forward, encroaching on the guide's personal space. The guide visibly shrinks back again. However, he can't hobble much farther away due to his injured leg.
That won't.
Before the guide can put forth another word, Bameli brazenly snatches the bottle straight from his hand. Everyone is stunned to silence by Bameli's action. Even the guide has trouble expressing any sort of emotion beyond furious disbelief. Melanie ignores all of our reactions and smiles triumphantly, holding the bottle like a trophy.
You have made it very clear that at the first inconvenience, you would leave us all for dead in the water. As you are now, that is impossible.
The guide narrows his eyes at Bameli, who only gives him a taunting grin.
So, this isn't about any possible adverse effects. You want to leave me injured and immobile on purpose.
Melanie shrugs, then returns to smirking almost cockily.
If there were no side effects, I likely would have thought nothing of it. However, mentioning those risks triggered something in my mind. You've never done what's best for the group, you only choose the safe option for yourself. With that in mind, I can't exactly trust you when you tell us that the medicine is truly our one option. Now, even if carrying you means that you will be more at risk than otherwise, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Damn it, Bameli, you're stirring up drama. You know what? I don't hate that you're doing it, though, because I didn't trust the guide to begin with. So, let's go. Melanie chuckles dervishly and rolls his eyes while spinning the medicine vial between his fingers.
I hope you're proud that I'm following your advised method of not considering others, guide.
Despite Bameli's sarcastic jab, the guide returns to his usual empty deadpan expression and makes no attempt at a rebuttal.
There, he accepts it. What of you?
Melanie then turns to look at us curiously. Margaret snorts slightly at the inquiry.
That stunt was so ill-advised, I never expected even you to attempt something like it. What if the guide had another bottle with him? We would have all been abandoned by now.
Melanie pulls a mischievous smirk.
I'd have taken that bottle too.
But Melanie, you can't just say things like that. You can't say you would do it, because you might not have been able to. You could have been quick. Margaret shakes her head at his response. However, she doesn't seem too upset over this. She seems more at ease than she had been for some time. Melanie seems rather pleased by his reaction thus far, grinning widely at us.
If anyone is worried about my ability to carry the guide for the rest of the night, you shouldn't be. Rest assured, a willowy man like the guide won't slow me down whatsoever.
He puffs his chest out proudly. Margaret can't suppress the laugh that bubbles up from her chest. She waves off Bameli's boasting with a silly grin on her face.
You are an absolute buffoon.
Bameli's face faces me expectantly. The guide also levels a steely gaze in my direction. We may be having a bit of fun getting the upper hand on the guide for a change, but if we don't get back now, we never will. Though, do we truly need to? All that matters is reaching the shore safely. What's really for the best is in this situation. That could work. Bameli's grin widens ecstatically at my lack of resistance. I feel nerves turning my insides jittery as I think over doing something so drastic. No matter the fear, this has to be done. Even if the guide can be trusted to show us the correct path, he's not reliable when it comes to anything else. If we let him do as he wishes, it is very possible that at some point during this night, he will leave us to die.
I believe you are capable of carrying the guide to the other side. That seems like the least risky option we have for the group at large.
Melanie lets out a small triumphant laugh and tosses the vial over to me. I catch it and quickly tuck it in my pocket. I'll return it to its rightful owner once we made it to the shore. Melanie steps back to the guide's side, who's still shrinking slightly beneath him. The guide narrows his eyes as Bameli grows near.
Fret not. I will take proper care to lift you. This isn't the first time I've carried an injured traveling partner. I'll have to hoist you over my shoulder since we've still got a ways to go. I ask that you don't make too much of a fuss about it.
Bamele! You sound condescending. The guide stares at him plainly.
I'm hardly in a position to resist. You've taken away my ability to do anything but be dependent on you and your decisions. Even though this path was only taken because I am not someone you care for rather than true pragmatism, it is a better mindset to have on these bridges than how you've acted thus far.
Bamele snorts out a sarcastic laugh.
Thank you for your approval.
He bends down and grabs the guide, lifting him over his shoulders. Bamele is careful not to bump the guide's leg. He still winces in pain, clenching his staff as he is jostled back and forth. However, the arrangement is quickly settled, and Bamele is ready to begin walking with the guide in tow. Margaret has a hand over her mouth, looking like she can't decide whether to laugh or weep at the state of the journey.
I can scarcely believe that this is the solution we've come to. With the way the guide acts, though, I suppose that I shouldn't be too surprised people are willing to turn on him this way.
Continue down this bridge. We cannot remain here any longer.
Bamele gives him a nod and starts to walk across the soggy boards as the new head of the group. We walk along the bridges together. The stillness, the guide's occasional instruction of what path to take, is the only conversation that reverberates in the night. Our steps echo through the bridges, and I'm more acutely aware of just how many paths there are spread across the lake than ever. Eventually, the voices of the lake are quiet, but it's no consolation in their place is the otherworldly squishing sound of the prowlers contorting their aquatic forms across the boards. It's impossible to tell exactly where they're coming from. The sound seems to echo in every direction at once. All I know is that it's too close for comfort. I do my best to ignore the feeling, but the sound still fills me with a constant lingering dread. We cross a long path, and come across a strange sight. The bridge which curves and becomes more narrow in the middle than usual. Eyeing the dubious bridge warily, I grow nervous at the end of getting that close to the edge. His pace slows before coming to a stop directly in front of the foreign way. For once, he looks to the guide for this matter. The guide appraises the bridge, looking intensely down at the path ahead.
Normally, it would be possible to cross a narrow bridge if one is careful with how they step. We can't continue as we are. Our combined weight is too much.
Is there another path?
This is our path.
Bamele's eyes widen at that explanation before gritting his teeth and speaking with a tone coated with suspicion.
So, you knew from the start we'd reach a point where putting you down was the only option.
The guide's silence is confirmation enough for Bamele. He scoffs and dervishly, then purposely strides forward, planting his feet on the mouth of the narrow bridge.
Unfortunately, that plan isn't going to work. I may not look the part, but I'm quite light on my feet. If this is our path, then prepare to cross it with me.
The guide still does not speak. He looks completely unfettered. Bamele doesn't take kindly to the guide's dismissiveness. He lifts his boots for a second time, stretching it out ahead of his body and threatening to move even further down the narrow way. Bamele is bluffing. Even he isn't that reckless enough to cross that bridge holding another person. But I can see why he'd go this far. The guide will not open up easily. I mean, hey, you do what you gotta do, and Bamele's not about to stop. I know without a doubt Bamele will be careful and won't waste the opportunity to find a better way. All of us. I need to do what I can to make certain the guide does call his bluff.
Please, you have to try to think of another way. There are so many branches. At least one other must be able to take us to the shore. I worry the worst will occur if this continues.
The guide waits an agonizing moment more.
There is another path. It is longer, however, and prowlers are a far more common sight.
Bamele immediately lets out a bark of laughter. He is feeling awful validated in this moment. It seems the guide had intended to keep information from us if he could get away with it. I shake my head in the guide's warning. We can't allow him to move freely now. Not after learning that.
It will still be more manageable than this bridge.
Margaret stares on as though she can hardly believe what's happening before her. Still, she remains quiet. Despite the guide's initial opinion, he sighs.
Go back a small ways. You will find a branch heading west. Take it.
With a satisfied grin, Bamele readjusts the guides on his shoulders and moves to the head of the party again, leading the way back. We trek through where we came along the way. Bamele tries to make light conversation. He recounts the battle in which I earned my title. The guide has his focus elsewhere. It is doubtful he is hearing a word Bamele says. Margaret seems engaged by the tale at the very least. He ends the story and he turns to me and smiles brightly.
Because of Kika's status, she has the option to choose which missions to take rather than have to do whatever she is told. Despite that, she accepts each task assigned to her. Our entire village is awfully proud to have her.
I smile lightly at the excessive praise Bamele is happy to put on me.
You are always much too kind. Every guard does what's asked of them. I am no different from them, or you for that matter.
Bamele chuckles airily at my words.
If there was nothing to admire about you, then I wouldn't do so. But the more I learn of who you are, the more I know for certain that I'm right about what I say.
I feel myself fluster a bit under all that flattery. Bamele has always had a natural camaraderie with guards. Only now have I started to realize he has made an effort to be extra kind to me all this time. I look back at him now, spinning another riveting tale about my heroics, and I am struck by how much of a thoughtful man Bamele is. He seems completely dedicated to making sure I'm surrounded by pleasance in even dark times such as these. Later on our path, weaving through the labyrinth of the boards, Bamele becomes uncharacteristically quiet. I look over to see that his breathing is heavy. Carrying the guard is starting to take its toll. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making. Hit subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back. Here's what happens next. I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.